Okay, so today we are recording some paper cutter tricks. How to use a paper cutter to cut paper, such as a paper bag, cycle paper bag, or newspaper. Also, and more specifically geared towards working with plaster, is burlap sacks that you can get at any coffee shop that maybe also has some sort of bean roasting thing. We have a couple coffee shops here in town that we have a relationship now, and they hook us up. Okay, thank you to our sponsors. Okay, so first, everybody kind of has this a gist of how to use a paper cutter. So people have kind of learned how to very carefully cut with a paper cutter. So a couple safety things is don't get your fingers cut. This blade is sharp. When you're cutting, you want to be cutting down and towards the blade. So when you're cutting paper, which doesn't require a lot of explanation, this is great for working with paper mache or something like that. And you can make strips. I like approximately 1 inch or 2 inch strips. Be careful of the blade falling. You can cut, short little stacks. So this is maybe 5 bags. And so the blade has its most power near over here. And sometimes, if you're there, you can kind of choke it up. But sometimes you don't want to force it. So I don't want to force it. So I've done maybe 1 or 2 too many bags. So that was 4 bags or 5 bags, I think. So I'll just take a few out and I'll finish that. Okay. So that is quick and easy. So when you're doing it, make sure you watch your fingers. Don't let your fingers get caught. Okay, so that's how to cut paper bags and stuff like that. And newspaper. You got me a couple paper towels. Thank you, Cello. So say you want to paper mache something out of some other material. You can really kind of get away with cutting lots of materials with this. So say you were doing something that required more like tissue paper, you could cut a whole lot of stuff quickly. Okay, so paper towels. Okay, but one thing that I love for a paper cutter in this sculpture studio is cutting burlap. So you can always buy burlap at a garden center. So one thing is that burlap comes with these large, thick things. The paper cutter is not going to be able to cut through those. So we have in a sculpture studio a couple really strong, amazing scissors. Again, this is my favorite scissor. I've tried a lot of scissors over the years. This is a tool that I do really recommend any serious art student or artist to have. It can just cut through everything. So you can kind of see how much effort it takes to cut, even with an awesome scissors, burlap. So if you were using just like a normal scissors to cut something like burlap, it would really become kind of a pain. Okay, but if you take your burlap, you can fold it. So now this is 4 layers of burlap. You can pass it. Notice I have the handle against my belly just as a safety. This one does not fall on its own, but a lot of paper cutters people use do fall. So you can take that. And then I have this beautiful, clean strip. So you'll notice that as I get kind of further down away, I lose some of the strength of the cut. So really the sweet spot for cutting burlap is around that first 3/4. So again, I'm pushing the burlap, I'm pushing the blade both down and kind of a I'm not forcing it to try to break it, but I am giving it a little bit of extra, a little love. Okay, so you could also go with this method. You might find this easier, is to cut, say, a 6-inch strip like this. Hold that off. So now you have kind of one long strip. And so what you can do with that is, then you can take this, pass it through, and you can then end up with approximately 2-inch strips by 6-inch strips. This sweet spot of 2-inch strips by 6-inch strips is a great starting point for most plaster construction projects. So this size that I'm batching right now is really just a fantastic place to get started when you're working with plaster and burlap. So you can see this is just this beautiful little stack. And I like to keep things neat and kind of arranged by stack. So you'll notice these first strips I cut are, they're about 3 feet long. And so what I can do with those is maybe I'll make those into some longer strips. So I'll take those and I'll pass those through here. Cello, while I'm doing this, do you have any questions or memories of when I was first teaching you this? Tricks that I'm forgetting now while I'm recording this demo?
Yeah, I think that the addition of using the really strong scissors to cut some of the parts of the burlap is important.
Okay, great. So you can see these are similar but a little bit different in these two different methods of how I cut them. But anything that's about an 1.5 inches or 2 inches wide by about 6 inches or 8 inches, all the way up to say 2.5 inches wide and about, I don't know, about maybe 9 inches, are great places to start. Here's a couple strips from that when I folded it that are a little bit longer, and it's okay if your strips are uneven at some points. That's okay. But one thing that's so nice about the paper cutter is you do, on average, get a much cleaner edge. So if you're using even a really great scissors, you're still going to end up with a little bit of a shred. One thing to do is make sure you keep any like little shreds, itsy bitsy pieces. These can be great for filling in holes with plaster kind of when you're working. Okay, well, I think, unless you have anything that I've forgotten, Chella, I think this ends our paper cutter. Okay.